Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to this week's episode of Tuesday Preppers, where we take a look at the in-game news for Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, see what's coming out this week, and talk about how to get ready for it based on what we know from in-game news, and then like getting ready with like killers and abilities and weapons and equipment and things that you can get in the game right now to kind of prepare for things. And as you can see, there's actually quite a bit of news here to talk about, but it really kind of centers around a couple of different pieces of content. The first is this one here, the Empress's Vengeance. So this is really exciting. If you've been around for a while, you know that 2 years ago, when Sylvia and Vilk came out during the 6th anniversary, we got our very first Chamber of the Vengeful fight. And they said over and over again that they would be giving us more Chamber of the Vengeful fights, but they never did. And now we're finally getting one 2 years later, which is, you know, potentially exciting. It says a new quest awaits, a familiar foe has appeared, and they're going to be giving us a more powerful version of Vestige of Morgana, available to fight in the dimensional vortex inside the Chamber of the Vengeful. And there she is, in all of her glory. And if you like the sprite, you know, it looks kind of like this. Oh my gosh, get that out of the way. Looks kind of like that. I think it's actually a really cool sprite. Now, this is the same sprite that the old Vestige of Morgana had, so that is worth noting. At least I think it is. Let me go check that out. Yeah, looking at it, this seems to be the same sprite. So this is the one that's in the news. And then if you look at the one that is on the wiki, there it is. So they seem to be the same exact sprite. Vestige of Morgana, Vestige of Morgana. It says, you know, right there, Vestige of Morgana, Vestige of Morgana in the news. So I think it's the same. We'll talk more about Vestige of Morgana in just a second, though, as we talk about kind of getting ready for this event. In the meantime, though, a little more information about the event. There are 3 new difficulties that are coming out. And so because there's 3 new difficulties, we know it's not just like an additional stage that's coming out from the other one, the Empress's Resolve. This is the Empress's Vengeance. Come on, it's 2024. And we know from the news here that they're giving out lots of goodies, like dark matter, mystery crystals, Obnixus drops, equipment recipes for some new gear down here. New gear quite like this. So there's, you know, these 3 pieces of gear: the Imperial Robe, the Empress Celestite Rod, and the Engulfing Light are all getting upgraded to ++, which I think is cool. The stats on the Rod are decent. The Robe is kind of whatever, and Engulfing Light's pretty good. But, you know, at this point that we do have stronger stuff available, it's just that this is, you know, good for free gear, so very good. And then she used to be a human fairy enemy, which we'll talk about more in a second when we look at her on the wiki. But there's a possibility she could be getting Demon and Reaper added to her as well, and we'll talk about why that could be the case. But it says that she counters frequently depending on your actions, so be careful. She strengthens yourself if you attempt to guard, and make sure to keep the morale gauge filled. These are all tips that are useful from the old fight, so I'm kind of assuming based on this that they might not change a whole lot and just might boost her stats. But we'll see. We'll have to find out on Thursday. We'll talk more about what her AI looks like in a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to see more in the Chamber of the Vortex because it describes here the process. If you've never done Chamber of the Vengeful, you know, you've got to bring a bunch of different units to clear the quest to get all the rewards. And so it kind of creates either a lot of different clears or ways like of being creative and creating a team, like a team of 3 that you can use to clear things, and then, you know, swap out a few units to kind of like get all your rewards. Either way, I think this is fun. I think this is gonna be good content for us to do. So very exciting. The next thing that we are going to talk about is just the fact that the story is continuing. So we can see that there's season 4. Chapter 13 part 1, and we are getting, you know, more stuff for the story, which, you know, if you're not reading the story, that just means you're getting more lapis. So definitely go out and get some more lapis and have some fun with it. There you go, the story's continuing. The other thing that is being updated is the land swarming with Omega Spawn. So they are increasing the rewards from 400,000 up to 900,000, allowing you to get more Lapis VIP coins as your pearls and other rewards. The event dates are being extended until 10/30, October 30th, which is a Wednesday. Yeah, that's pretty normal. as far as that being a Wednesday, that's fine. But they're also giving you this piece of equipment being added to the individual rewards. It looks like this, in case you can't see it on the screen. 135 attack, defense, and spirit, some stats as well, 36 and 48, with resistances to all the elements at 15%, and then a bunch of stuff for Blade Breaker Esther, which we do not have in the game yet, but we are getting this Thursday. It's also giving her killers against demons, humans, fairies, and reapers. So I mentioned before that Morgana is a human fairy on the wiki, and this equipment gives you humans, fairies, demons, and reapers. Now this could be a throwback to old Esther, who had demon and reaper killer in her kit, or it could be that Morgana is getting new races added to her to make her more challenging to gear for. Either way, this is a pretty nice piece of equipment, especially for a new unit, Blade Breaker Esther. And here she is. So you definitely want to farm up this equipment and get the 900,000 points to get all the stuff, as well as getting your new Blade Breaker Esther. And there's a whole new August Crest Pass, and then you're getting her up to EX2 for free, because you get a copy of her at Crest 2, then 50 fragments at Crest 6, and Crest 8 is 100. So pretty cool. 150 fragments, so via EX2 for free, which is nice. And here she is. So she's a Neo Plus unit. She's an attacker, and she's got a bunch of interesting stuff here. Rechargeable Magnus abilities and stat buffs, and a leader skill, and this Rainbow Storm, which amplifies everybody to all elements, which is pretty cool. Mirage stacks. She does like killer buffs for herself and all kinds of interesting things. And they show, this isn't in the news, but they did show a bunch of slides for her abilities and things on like Twitter and Facebook and things like that. And so definitely check those out if you haven't seen them, because the numbers on this are pretty nutty. She's got some pretty wild abilities and some pretty wild numbers that are going to make her a pretty strong unit, especially considering she's free. Even her vision card, it's not the best vision card in the game, but it has some really nice utility. We'll talk more about her vision card in a second. She's got a really great EX ability award, but you have to get EX3 to get that, sadly. And the only way you're getting that is if you're spending money or putting her in the fragment dungeon, and hopefully it'll last long enough for you to get her. Yeah, there you go, Esther. Do you like her sprite? Do you not like her sprite? I'm seeing a lot of conflict around whether or not people like her sprite and her design. I think the art on the vision card is really cool. I don't love the sprite. The sprite to me looks really cluttered and busy, and I'm not a huge fan of it. The art on the vision card is cool, even though it's the same character. I just feel like it's like designed differently. I don't love it. The sprite for some reason, the hood and the ears looks really weird too. Like I don't know, not my favorite look for Esther, but she's coming. Exciting times. As for what you could spend your lapis on right now, you've got a couple of choices available to you. If you are looking for things to spend your lapis on, you could definitely spend your lapis on current banners. So things like Roos, Laswell, Rain, Tybus, those are all ending on September 4th. So if you go into the summon panel, I find this interesting, that all of these banners, Roos's banner ends September 4th, as does Laswell, which is interesting, right? And Rain and Tybus ending all on September 4th, which is really, really odd to me that all these banners are ending at the same time. So you've got that as an option. The other thing you could maybe spend some lapis on, and this is actually something that I'm considering, believe it or not, is this. So the United Forces Step Up Summon is 25k. So 25k will get you 12 guaranteed Neovisions units, as well as an armory ticket, 2,000 lapis replica, and then this vision card, which we'll talk about in just a second. But the rated up banner units are Zon, Ethne, and Lulu, and those are all units that I would love to have 1 to 2 more copies of. I don't really need any more fundamental force, but the rest of the units that are on banner are all ones that I would love. And I'm considering this with my lapis, especially with us getting, Vision World payout theoretically. I'm excited about this. I think this is potentially good for me. I don't think this is necessarily good for everybody, but I think the Vision card's really good. And you know, the banner units are decent for me because I don't have EX3 Zon or Ethne yet. So I'm pretty heavily considering this, but I also want to see kind of what comes out on Tuesday of next week to see what the next set of news we're going to get is. You know, rumors are what they are, and I just want to see what the next set of news is before I drop my lapis. Now, this banner does end on September 11th. So, you know, Roos, Rain, Tyvis, Lastwell, all that's ending on September 4th, and this one ends September 11th. Kind of curious. We'll see. So I'm just curious to, you know, maybe explore this a little bit and see, and this might be a good way for me to spend some lapis. I don't know, haven't decided yet, but I'm leaning heavily towards it because I do want the Vision card. If it turns out that the Vision card could help me with beating something, then, you know, by all means, I'll go grab it. But like I said, you could also just wait and see what happens next. We've got time for both the Rain banners, the Roost banners, etc., and this one. That's going to be in the game for at least until I keep saying November, September 4th for the units, and then September 11th for this step up. Lots of things you could potentially do there. What is this? Vision cards. Let's talk about Vision cards yet. So this is the Vision card that's on that step up. It is right there. It's a celebration Kupo, and it is 170 attack and magic with 80% attack and magic on top of that, and killer to everything 50%, 150% defense and spirit, true double hand and true dual wield, kind of weird, and then 750 attack and magic bonus stats. So this is a very, very good card. If I said on stream tonight, if you have a premium unit wearing this card and Bahamut, actually I think premium unit with Bahamut and this card, they should have, you know, 200, or they should have full killers to everything, which is pretty cool. You know, easy gearing, that's for sure. So that could potentially be very useful, as well as giving you some good stats and some defense and spirit buff as well. As far as like Esther's Vision card, at first glance it looks a little lackluster, right? It's 150 attack, magic, defense, and spirit, with 100% to all four of those stats as well, and 50% resistance to all the a few of the elements: fire, ice, lightning, water, wind, earth, light, dark. That's all of them actually, and then 100% killer to humans, demons, fairies, and reapers, which again, we already said, it seems like, you know, they could easily add demon and reaper to Morgana. Here's a piece of evidence number 2. Humans, demons, fairies, and reapers are on this Vision card. And then an additional 500 attack, defense, magic, and spirit by 500. And none of this is limited to FFBE units except for the third ability. So potentially a very good Vision card that everyone's going to get for free as long as you get Esther and play the event. So, you know, I would say this is pretty good for a budget FFBE character. Not the best in the game, but for a free unit they're just giving to everybody, this is solidly good. And there you have it, Vision cards. Yeah. So before I dive into the killers and stuff, I wanted to take just a minute and talk about Morgana again. And we played around with Morgana on stream tonight. The version of the fight that is in the Vortex right now, and I wanted to pull up on the wiki some information about her that you can find. And if you have never looked at this trial before on the wiki, it is a massive page. Notice here that she's got abilities, morale abilities, influence for morale, thresholds, and 4 different phases of the fight, with different HP thresholds and stuff like that. And so there's a ton to know about this fight. The most important thing, at least the old version, right, is she's a human fairy, and that she had fire and light weakness. However, using light against her is bad. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then she has all these other resistances. So there's no way of knowing right this moment if this is going to be what she looks like on Thursday in the new version. But if she does, you know, at least here's a baseline of what she could be. But I have a feeling they're going to change her. I have a feeling they're going to give her those extra races and maybe change her elements that you can use. But if they do, that might mean that they change her AI and make her more challenging, more complicated than she already is. Just different AI, you know. Otherwise, you could just use the same strategies that worked a year or 2 years ago and just take different units. However, she starts off the fight and she's got, take a look here, she's got a ton of stuff, including attacks that do every element, right? So you have to have all 8 elements resistances, and you got to have status immunities. She does do death on a single target. She does stop, she does blind, she does a bunch of physical attacks, fixed attacks, hybrid damage, sleep, fixed damage. She will absorb light damage if you do light damage against her too much, which is why that light weakness is kind of tricky. And then a bunch of stuff that fills morale for her, MP drain, tons and tons of stuff. And like, she's got all these abilities that are, she's got morale abilities too, just like most Clash of Wills bosses do. But the biggest thing that you got to worry about for gearing is True Omniscience 5. This is like this is a preemptive attack that she does, and this is the biggest imperil that she has, at least in her current form. It's a 90% spirit break to all enemies and a 150% imperil to every element for 3 turns for all allies. And she does this periodically in the fight. What that means is you have to have, in order to resist all elemental damage, you have to have 250% or better to every element on your magic tank, or whoever your tank is going to be. We did play around with this a little bit. There are some dangerous abilities that she has for your tank. The biggest one that's dangerous is this Ghastly Nightmare, which if you're covering it, it will hit your tank 6 times and do 300% damage to them. So it will be killing your tank, and that's not good. So unless you have re-raise, if you have re-raise, then your tank just comes back. But the problem there is they need to be come back tanking, or they will not be covering the magic, and that's not good. So yeah, lots of very, very complicated stuff. Thresholds, and she's got thresholds at 70, 50%, 30%. You don't want to push more than 1 at a time, that's for sure. You want to be careful about what elements you use. You got to be careful about guarding, otherwise she'll put up unremovable mitigations, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's this here. If you guard, she puts up a 20% physical damage mitigation for 999 turns. You don't want to guard. But it said all that in the news. So like, it's hard to tell, like, are they going to be adding more races to her? Are they changing her AI? But they mentioned all these same tips about like guarding and stuff like that in the news. And so it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen. It's hard to predict. But if they don't change a whole lot, you'll be able to use strategies that worked 2 years ago. And if just you take new units, and if they do change a whole lot, then maybe we're starting from the ground up and we won't know what's coming. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun and challenging, just like putting together stuff for the boss rush was fun. I'm hoping that this is going to be a lot of fun to play around with on stream. Now, let's assume that she is a human, demon, fairy, reaper enemy. What are you going to want to bring as far as rewards and stuff to try and get ready for that? You're going to want a couple of things. So let's talk about we know human and fairy first, right? So we know she's a human fairy because I'm not likely to take that away from her. As far as trial rewards go, Cross Aigayan Arm, Mask of Ashura, Maneater Sense, Man's Killer Plus from Elnath Trial, Guy's Belt, Weapon Specialist, lots of good things for Human Killer. We say it all the time, right? Human is the one killer that like is the most common, that right up there with Demon. You know, so Demon and Human, if she does get Demon, you know, you've got Demon pretty easily covered, Human pretty easily covered, very, very well. Crucifying Coercion, Demon Killer Plus, Demon Eater Sense, Mask of Ashura has Human and Demon Killer, so potentially good if you need it. Horse Mysterian from Lunera has a big 100%. You know, there's lots of good Demon and Human Killer out there. Less common is things like Fairy or Spirit, right? Spirit Eater Sense, Spirit Killer Plus, Fairy Eater Sense, Battle Intelligence, Shinsu Yukin, so Blue Mage Dress. There's things out there, right? With the Spirit Killer on it, but like it's just less common. There's been more lately, but it's less common than Human and Demon. And Reaper is another one that does not have a whole lot, like Undead Killer Plus, Conquering the Fear of Spirits, Reaper Eater Sense are kind of the big 3 that for trial rewards and stuff like that. There are definitely more TMRs and STMRs, but you know, a lot of them come from like obscure units or units that people don't really pull that often. But there's definitely stuff out there. But as far as trial rewards go, not a whole lot. But you know, hopefully that is useful as far as talking about like getting ready if they do add Demon and Reaper to her kit, as far as like what you might be able to equip on your units. But there you go, lots of stuff coming up. So I think, you know, it's gonna be a big week. You know, free unit, everyone gets to EX2 with some decent equipment, and definitely some nice party utility. You know, who's not going to want to take her, based on the slides that they showed on you know, Twitter and Facebook and things like that. So she seems like she's going to be really good, and hopefully, like, you know, hopefully, I can't imagine she wouldn't be useful for a fight against Morgana, you know. And hopefully that Morgana is gonna be fun and stuff to do. So we'll be doing that live on Thursday over on Twitch. If you're interested in watching and coming and hanging out, I'll be doing that on Thursday night. And yeah, until then, you guys be good to each other. Are you interested in this unit? Are you interested in the step up? That's another one that I'm curious. Are you guys interested in the step up? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious. I'm leaning towards it myself, but you know, not everybody thinks the same way I do. Until then, you guys be good to each other. Take care, and we will see you on Thursday.